Shalom, family. This is day 11 of our 40-day prayer adventure. First Class Noticer is the title of this event. And the verse is Colossians 4:2. Devote yourselves to prayer, keeping alert in it with thanksgiving. Three things mentioned there in that short sentence. Devotion. If we're not devoted to regularly praying to God, then our prayer life is definitely in trouble. And we need to do it all in thanksgiving. If we're not thankful for the responses we get from God, whether it's yes, no, not yet, or we're not even asking the right question, which sometimes there is silence. I want to focus on keeping alert, which is a big part of listening to God. Most of us pray. A lot of us, including myself, will often spend more time speaking to God than listening to God, and that's not the best prayer, because God knows everything. There's no details he needs to hear from us, but he does want to hear from us, and he wants even more for us to hear from him. So that's our focus here. Perception is not reality. We need to listen to what God is saying in our prayer. We need to be alert and attentive when we are praying, to expect and hear from him. And we can be anywhere on a scale from being oblivious to hypervigilant, but we want to be as alert as possible. A big part of our perception is our expectation. We hear and we see what we want to hear and see. But that's not the reality. We have the expectation. We also have our experience and our filter of how we see things. Some people see everything positively. Some people see everything negatively. Most of us are somewhere between those extremes. But how we look at whatever we see, how we hear how we listen to what we hear, makes a huge difference in our perception and how we view the reality of that situation. Anything that we hear from God and anything that happens in our lives, we have to interpret. And again, that is based on our personalities and can be very different. And I said earlier, our perception is not reality. So how do we know the reality of what God's telling us? We need to put everything before him. A major thing that I heard in my life that is still a driving force in that is we do not know the truth until we have heard from Jesus. How many dead people we perceive he's dead, we know he's dead, but until Jesus was in that situation and brought them back to life, they were not dead as we perceive death. Truth is the person of Christ. When we take our experiences, what we hear in prayer from God, because it's not always clear. So I'm going to close with John 14:6. Yeshua said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The context of this is very important. Briefly, Jesus has just told them he's going to the cross to die. And he then says to follow him. And my favorite, and the one I sometimes resemble most, Thomas, said, Lord, how can we follow you? We don't know where you're going, and we don't know the way. Well, he just said, what's happening, and Thomas missed it. So we may hear from God, but that doesn't mean we've understood it until we live with what we've heard. And that's when he will take us to the truth. So may the Lord bless you, keep you, make his face shine upon you, and be gracious to you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you